assignment.
Well, imagine that. 1812, some of those headstones were 200 years ago.
I bet there's some folks out there who have some memories of that. Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and start with memories of this storm hanging out over the city. This is a great looking shot from Terry Hendricks, who probably had to use a long exposure to get this, but very cool stuff. And we've had some storms around the metro tonight, mainly light stuff for us here, but not necessarily the case in other parts of the state. Glenwood, remember yesterday they got 1 1/3 inches. Today they got about 1.25 inches. Los Alamos, thanks to some rain this evening, over 1 inch. Cimarron, 3/4 inch. Santa Fe, or at least just outside of town, over 1/2 inch. So some impressive stuff out there for rain. Now, as far as what's going on right now in the metro, things are dying off for us. We do have a few more storms south of Los Lunas. A few of these could track up in our direction, but most of the action that we're going to experience probably will be saved for the next 3 days or so. Up around White Rock, we're starting to pull out of some of these storms, but still some heavier stuff just to the north of town. Espanola in the middle of it right now. Santa Fe starting to pull out of these storms. Jemez Springs getting some too. Now up in Durango, they had some power outages earlier thanks to the storms, and the storms now are starting to die off there, but we are still seeing some showers, and around Pagosa Springs picking up some showers as well. And down to the south central sections along the I-25 corridor, grabbing some storms. Not a tremendous amount of activity for tonight, but we are going to ramp it up in a big way, and I'll explain why coming up here. 74 degrees, winds out of the north at 14 miles an hour for us. It's cooled down nicely in the areas where we've gotten some rain. 59 Taos, 61 in Los Alamos, down to the south, temperatures in the 70s, and even low 80s in Carlsbad where we haven't seen any rain. Satellite and radar shows a nice monsoon flow over the state here. We've got plenty of moisture in place, and there's plenty more to our south that will continue to advance in our direction. But part of our problem is the fact that we don't have a whole lot of upper level winds to move these storms. So when you have a deep monsoonal flow out there, as we come down to the surface and we have that trigger, we're able to pull those storms up and form them. Well, the upper level winds just don't move them because they're not strong enough. So that's why there's some concern, not only tomorrow, but in through the weekend, that where we form some pretty big time storms with a lot of moisture here and they don't move much, we could be looking at some flooding. And that could be a real issue in parts of I-40 and as well as across the northeast as well, because we have not only that moisture flowing up in our direction, but we talk about this all the time. We need a trigger. We need something to take that moisture and draw it up in the atmosphere. Well, we're going to have plenty of triggers, and one of them is going to be a cold front that's going to set up across the northeast here along I-40 and then up along the mountains as well. So we could be looking at flooding in this quadrant of the state and just about anywhere with the exception of the southeast for the possibility of some isolated spots, or we could be looking at some big time rain numbers here. So we do need to watch out for that, and that's going to be through the weekend, and then as we head into next week, things will start to calm down for us. So region by region for you across the northwest plateau and southwestern Colorado, finally we're getting some rain. Scattered storms will continue into tomorrow and well through the weekend too, with temperatures for the most part in the 80s. Meanwhile, south and west, temperatures for the most part going to be in the 80s and 90s, and once again, widespread storms will be a possibility here as well. South and east, you guys won't be the focus of the storms, but you'll be close enough to grab an isolated or spot storm each afternoon over the next few days, and that does include the Roswell area into the weekend with temperatures in the 80s and 90s. North and east, tomorrow, scattered storms out there, and then a better chance at storms for the day on Saturday and maybe Sunday as well, especially along the I-40 corridor too. And northern mountains, we are looking at temperatures in the 70s and 80s. Storms for tomorrow, we've seen them tonight, and we'll get them again for the weekend too. So we are going to see fire danger go down quite a bit too. In the East Mountains, good chance at storms for us over the next few days with temperatures in the 70s and 80s. And finally, right here in the metro area, we will ramp up our chance at storms as well over the next few days, peaking on Saturday, and could well see some more through Sunday as well. All right, here we go. Your word of the day is actually a name. Jessica Garate. There you go. Log on to krqb.com.
All right, thanks, Mark.
Sports is next.
We have a group of employees.